Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back. Here we have another incident of being hit by milkshakes while out campaigning. This is Nigel Farage. This is him in Newcastle, which is after Edinburgh, which is of course where McDonalds were told to not sell milkshakes at the risk of this happening. So Nigel Farage of course has a large security crew, and you can see them around him with earpieces in and looking around. However,
I don't know why. Take it away. Get back to the car.
as you can see, the gentleman did a very limp-wristed, underhand throw. I mean, I suppose it's to be expected of these people, but as Milo said a while ago about people holding up signs when he was with Sargon in the southwest, that I suppose you can't expect to be able to hold things up when you're vegan and living on soy. But this does continue, and Nigel is very annoyed at the security team.
Get back to the car.
Complete failure. Right. Spotted that a mile.
And could have spotted that a mile away. They then take him back to the car, and the subtitle here: "The racism he spouts out in this country is far more damaging than a bit of milkshake," says demonstrator. And in case you're wondering what happened to the gentleman who hit him, according to Tom Wilkinson, a verified Twitter user, Paul Crowther arrested for throwing a £5.25 banana and salted caramel Five Guys milkshake on Nigel Farage. I can just imagine somebody being hit by it, just licking it and going, "I think I know what flavour that is." Said as he stood in handcuffs, "I was quite looking forward to it, but I think it went on a better purpose." So he's not sorry about what he did, at least not yet, but he was in handcuffs, so he has been arrested, which makes a nice change. But that does still go to show that obviously people are still pushing back against Nigel Farage, but that he is still protected more by the state, as at least that person has been arrested, just like the gentleman who egged Jeremy Corbyn. Not, as it seems, at least so far, with the incidents to Tommy Robinson, as nobody has been arrested in years of assault to him, or with Carl Benjamin, and of course most recently in Limeside and Oldham, which I have made a video about, with the Muslim Defence League being led or escorted by the police, where they attacked Tommy Robinson and his supporters. Let's go to that and get on with the story. So Nigel Farage has had a milkshake thrown at him while on a walk around in Newcastle. Led away by security after the drink was thrown. In a video circulating on social media, a voice can be heard shouting "fascist" as Mr Farage walks away. There's also a lot of loud laughter, quite shrill. "How did you not stop that?" The Brexit Party leader could be heard saying to his security guards. And there he is. Paul Crowther, 32, said he'd thrown £5.25 Five Guys banana and salted caramel milkshake at Mr Farage. "I didn't know he was in town. I thought this is my only chance." It's a right of protest against people like him. It's odd using terminology like people like them, like against those people, seeing as that sort of terminology is not enjoyed at all by people like him. Mr Crowther. "The violence and the racism he spouts out in this country is far more damaging than a bit of milkshake to his front." Obviously, the issue here is, in principle, that it's the escalation. You can be damaged by a milkshake if you're lactose intolerant or allergic to something that is inside the milkshake. You could have a peanut butter milkshake and have a peanut allergy, obviously, and that can be airborne, and that can lead to a great bad allergic reaction. So there is that, but we have seen escalation with Tommy Robinson in Limeside Oldham, obviously, where rocks, eggs and scissors were thrown and cars were damaged. So that is the problem with this sort of escalation, and I have mentioned before Tim Fortune, the gentleman who was shot a couple of months after having cake thrown at him, and of course Joe Cox is another example of this getting worse and being normalised by mainstream media outlets and the legacy media essentially, which then leads to much worse harm and death, literally death. And it's becoming more and more normal to hit people anyway. I know that the people actually committing the violence are saying, "Oh yes, well we're stopping the violence from the other side," but they're not the ones committing the violence. It's you guys, it's Antifa, for example, the so-called anti-fascists who haven't proven to own that label at all, other than being very pro-fascist themselves. And he says, "I do not regret it, it was worth it." He said, coincidentally, there's a Brexit Party march. A few minutes later, he said, "I fucking did it, it was Farage, I can't believe it." As limp and underhanded, quite literally as it was. And Farage tweeted out, "Sadly, some Remainers have become radicalised to the extent that normal campaigning is becoming impossible. For a civilised democracy to work, you need the loser's consent. Politicians not accepting the referendum result have led us to this." Hopefully, he will now come around more to Tommy Robinson's plight as well as Carl Benjamin's plight, and realise that it isn't okay to condemn these people for having not broken the law. And he hasn't said it's okay for them to see this, obviously, but hopefully he'll come around to show that there is more of a problem. And it is a shame that sometimes people don't have enough empathy or understanding towards other people in order to understand that it could also be them affected, and they have to be affected themselves before they speak out against it. Swerves and turfs are an example of this, that you can say you're a feminist, but then if you're trans exclusionary, then you're a turf, and then you're pushed out. I can't remember the name of the lady who is a good example of this. Jean, I think, I'm not sure now. But confirmed the 32-year-old man had been arrested on suspicion of common assault. Suspicion, it looks quite obvious to me. And the Independent does go on to say, milkshakes have been thrown at Tommy Robinson and Carl Benjamin in recent days. Benjamin far-right activist, not at all. He doesn't describe himself as that. He's very much a liberal. So maybe use the term that he describes himself as. That'd be honest reporting instead of just forcing in your opinion here when you're trying to say that you're being factual news. Has had 4 milkshakes thrown at him in the space of a week. I believe he's been hit by 2. I know of an instance where somebody tried for a 3rd but was held back. I don't know for 4th, and Carl has said himself that he hasn't been hit by 4. But this has thrown at him, not that he has been hit. Last week, police apparently ordered McDonalds out. Yeah, we mentioned that about banning them. The other little bit, if it's in this story or if it's from The Guardian, is about the hustings. Here we are. Exeter Cathedral banned Carl Benjamin from taking part in hustings. Hustings are political debates, saying he might be a risk to public order after he is hit by a milkshake in Salisbury. He is not a risk to public order. It is the people that are being very, I dare say, unprovoked aggressive. It's similar to Lauren Southern in Australia, where she was interviewing people outside mosques, and she was hoping to just talk to people on the street, and the police said, "Oh no, we're not allowing you to go down there for risk of public safety and public order." And she said, "Well, you're worried I'm going to do something?" I said, "Well, no, they're worried that the police are concerned that Muslims are going to assault her, or radical Muslims, Islamists, whatever phrase you wish to use. They're all true, but maybe one's misleading. It's up to you. I'm not trying to be misleading, obviously. It's never my intention." Brendan Cox, widow of Joe Cox, also condemned the incident. So, good on you. Obviously, I sympathise greatly for having had your wife killed. I don't wish to use the deaths of anybody as I don't wish to stand on the grave of somebody to use as my soapbox to spout ideas. Not at all. I'm not trying to use dead people as pawns. But I am hoping that with somebody who has been deeply affected by it, they said that he doesn't agree with Nigel Farage's politics, but said that he doesn't think throwing stuff at politicians that you disagree with is a good idea. It normalises violence and intimidation. We should consistently stand against it. I agree with completely. And in the terms of the hustings with Carl Benjamin, he then had, and he's uploaded, it's about 55 minutes long, one that did take place where everybody else deplatformed themselves, so he was allowed to speak freely, which was quite nice, because then at least he could get his points out and not be interrupted and people tried to twist his words. Although, if you do look at it, I believe it's at 45 minutes, 35 seconds, he does say, "I would be wary of the polls generally," which is of course for polling, because he's saying that with YouGov, for example, it's opt-in instead of people coming to ask you, so it just, because it's a self-report, so if you're very politically active, then you will tell people what you think instead of people asking you what you think. So you may still be a voter, but you're not going to go out and tell people, and that's where these, at least with YouGov, that's where these numbers come from. So maybe even with the Brexit Party polling at the greatest amount, that they won't get as such a strong reaction as suggested, and UKIP and Tommy Robinson as an independent can still do well. Obviously, the polls did not predict Brexit or Donald Trump. In fact, if you voted on Donald Trump becoming the president and Brexit happening at the start of 2016, you would have made very good money if it was a combined bet. And then the football team who won the final, I can't remember which one it was now, I think it was odds were like 33,000 to 1 for all those three happening. Absolutely ridiculous. But it just goes to show how bad the polls are. As in polling, okay. I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I know that's the issue, and it's similar with like I remember a joke saying that when somebody's feeling bad, they're tempted to just drive into a poll, and the response was, "Oh, I didn't realize you were against Polish people as much." But yeah, anyway, that's good. Obviously, go watch that video. He produces much better content than me. Hopefully, in the coming months, years, I'll outperform Carl, but we shall see. We shall see. Thanks very much for watching. That's the news. I got to go to work. Have a lovely day.